What is going on, guys? It's your boy Az. We are back here with another Blade Tower preparation guide for you guys. As you know, I try to always do this usually the same week before the next set of flowers. I want to say flowers. Next set of floors drop. And of course, as well, this is just kind of me running my thoughts, using the MSF base, checking the turn meters, checking the passives and the abilities, and making sure we have something on paper that looks like it would work. And if it doesn't work, then yeah, we can kind of pivot from there. Obviously, if you guys have seen some of my other videos from the first couple of floors, we've had to pivot and change up some of the team lineups. But for the most part, I'd say about 70-80% of the teams usually work, but hopefully I don't want to lead anyone astray here. So feel free to, burn me in the comments or throw me under the bus because yeah, you guys definitely for sure have the right to do that if I'm totally off track here. But anyways, Blade Tower cell 13 to 18. Let's get this let's get this underway here. So the first one is interesting because we have the mutant team starting up again here. We've seen something similar in the previous week as well. But yeah, interesting enough, we've got Angel here, and then we've got a set of new mutants, plus we have Cyclops and Jean as well. So right off the get-go, Jean is kind of one of the dangerous ones because she is one of the faster characters, 129 speed, which is fairly good. If she uses that special, she's gonna apply a whole bunch of negatives as well to the entire enemy side, despite the fact that she doesn't have any synergy with your immortals, right? She's just a really good character, actually. That special is absolutely deadly. And then afterwards, Wolfbane and Warlock will basically be shortly after in terms of their speed. So a couple things here to note is you can't use Fantastic Four on this particular node because there's no speed bonuses, right? They're not going to apply here. And on top of that as well, Emma Frost won't work as well because Warlock prevents the speed mechanic. You can only slow the characters down with negative effects. You can't use her passive here, so Emma Frost won't be usable, and she'll kind of be useless. So you don't want to use those teams there, and yeah, you want to save your Fantastic Four as well later on. I think it's a bit too early to even use Fantastic Four, but for sure Fantastic Four would definitely work. They just won't have that full impact that they usually do. Now, having said that, we can counter this team, I think, with a little bit of speed. I use this team here because we can't really use some of the other ones later on. You guys will see why. But Kahori is going to take a first couple turns here, courtesy of MSF base. Thank you very much, guys. She's going to take a couple turns. Maybe we can aim for the what is it? Was it Bishop, right? He's got the taunt, so Kahori's going to do her thing, get maybe the taunt off, and then, yeah, Jean's going to do her thing and apply that crazy negative, which is fine. Eclipse is going to come out here, do the special, apply some silence out to some of these guys, and I think, I don't know if the silence is going to work on the new mutants, because until Warlock takes his first turn, right, you can't get silenced or some of the other negatives, right? So you gotta aim for some of the other characters like Bishop and perhaps Jean. But yeah, you just can't really focus on some of the new mutants. And then, yeah, Wolfsbane's going to take her turn. And then we got Kahori doing her special, which is going to apply a ton of negatives. So really, that's going to get things going for us. So once we have characters that are going to be faster than Jean, like 129 speed, we can definitely get things going here. I don't know who my characters are yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But yeah, just basically have characters that are above those speeds of 120. What is it, 124 and 121, which is fairly reasonable, considering we do have a couple fast characters. But that's kind of the basics of, I think, of that one. Cell 14, this one's gonna be a little trickier because we are kind of seeing some mythics now. So we're gonna see here the introduction of an early mythic. So we got Super Skrull here in the mix as well with a Kree-based team, which is fairly interesting. So we got to worry about Minerva's ultimate and her special as well to revive. So dangerous characters. Korath, he's going to open up with a speed up. Actually, at one point a few years ago, right, like 6-7 years ago, Korath used to be the fastest character, right? So potentially with all his beefed up diamonds and stuff, he can be an issue here, so we got to be careful of that. And as well, Super Skrull, like I said, he has that speed of 124, but he fills 10% speed bar every time there's a positive and there's a negative. So it's absolutely annoying. So we're going to have to probably most likely take care of him ASAP before things get too crazy. Now, I'm thinking because of the stealth mechanics, because of the fact that we just mentioned that negatives can't really apply to some of the new mutant teams before Warlock makes his first turn, then this seems to be a very good comp here. On top of that, we can take advantage of the stun combo we utilized in the last couple floors where Rachel can basically do a mass stun, because one thing really stops Super Skrull, and that's when he gets stunned. So, of course, as well, running it through the MSF base, we're going to get Cannonball applying the, his special basically first to kind of get some offense down going, and that may give a speed advantage to Super Skrull, so we will have to watch that. We may have to slap in Emma Frost in here for extra speed, but anyways, Havoc should go theoretically right after throwing that stun, and if we can get that on, on somebody, then we can start spreading it with Rachel, and then, yeah, Wolfsbane's going to do her thing. And, yeah, like I said, there's going to be some tying there between Rachel and Super Skrull. So what I do highly recommend here is having some sort of speed mechanic, whether in the shape or form of Oath, or we can bring in Emma Frost to block some of that speed. And we could also bring in Apocalypse here as well. Apocalypse may be a suitable option as well to kind of ensure that our team doesn't get slowed down by speed mechanics. And he can potentially get triggered. And if you put him beside Cannonball, perhaps Apocalypse can get pushed, throw that massive punch, and maybe Falcon Punch Super Skrull. And we can, get things underway there. So I don't have Apocalypse here right now, but I'm gonna try this strategy out here first, and yeah, if it doesn't work, then we can maybe slot in Apocalypse. Next one is also quite interesting, because now we've got this previous team here of the Young Avengers, but they also throw in Photon and Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel in here as well, and of course as well the new Sam Alexander. And this is also interesting because of all the absolute A-Force members there, or slash, I don't know if it's, it's just the synergy with the A-Force or whatever. They fill their speed bars, and basically we're going to get a barrage of 4 attacks. I threw different team comps in here involving Fantastic Four, and there was also Shadow Conclave, Omen, and yeah, and I realized one thing here is we're going to need to basically take a barrage of attacks. Unless we use Xavier, which basically blocks all the speed, you're going to have to take a barrage of attacks here. And I figured, oh, yes, right. There's a thing here. The speed of this character in each Secret Defender and A-Force can only be reduced by slow. So Emma Frost won't work on this one either. So you may have to bring in Oath here if you want some extra speed. So be aware of that. But having said that, because we are going to be taking a barrage of attacks, I feel like having the safeguard, having the defense up from the Galactic Council will be very key here. And this is going to help us kind of take some hits and hopefully take a little bit of damage. And then, of course, as well, once we finally get to our turn, then our Galactic Council can do their thing. Also, I've kind of, left this one in the air in terms of who the other two are, because we can bring in like Jeff the Land Shark to strip positives. We can bring in maybe perhaps, like I said, perhaps Xavier if we have to. I'm trying not to use Xavier here, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. There is a lot of additional attacks here we're going to initially have to get hit by. And again, like I said, we're going to have to just take a couple hits here. Miss Marvel is going to do her, basically, I think her ultimate, right? That reduces the speed. And then Photon's going to throw the blind. But the blind won't really do much because we have immunity. And then Captain Marvel is going to use her ult, which basically, again, we have the defense up. So that shouldn't be an issue. And then Moon Girl's going to do her... I think she opens up with her ultimate as well. So yeah, it's going to be a barrage for sure. But once we get through that initial barrage, then it's our turn, and we're going to be able to hopefully get some impactful damage underway. Next one is another mythic character. So they're throwing another mythic at us. And again, Dakin, he's going to get the on-spawn fill if we use Fantastic Four here. So, I mean, that's obviously going to be an issue, but I think we're going to have to just take the hit on that. Odin for obvious reasons, and of course as well, Kahori gets that extra speed because she fills her speed. So again, a room that we could potentially use Xavier because he's going to cancel all that speed mechanic. And then on top of that, we also have to worry about Thunderstrike and Blastar as well. So a very, very, very dangerous room indeed. Probably, in my opinion, probably the hardest room I think here, just because we have the Odin to worry about. And I think even right now, Apocalypse won't really be able to handle this room on his own. So, yeah, using Apocalypse, I think, earlier on, and maybe perhaps saving Xavier for this room may be a good point. But we're going to try our Fantastic Four because of their massive speed. Dakin might get a little extra speed bar because Invisible Woman has that stealth on spawn, but we're going to try our Fantastic Four here, and I think just to throw things off and kind of give us a little edge, we're going to bring in our Surfer Breaker. Kahori's going to get a first couple turns, and then Franklin's going to use that massive ult. He's going to apply the silence. Invisible Woman's going to grab everybody, push them together. Then Mr. Fantastic is going to be able to throw a massive stun. Possibly I'm thinking on, if just I guess it just depends on where the cluster is and whatnot. But I'm thinking probably somewhere in the center where it hits all of them. And then, of course, as well, we can bring in our Surfer Breaker because everyone's clustered, and he should be able to use that special and just cluster ability block, stun. They're gonna be blocked off for a bit here, and I think just trying to focus strikers and iso weights on that Odin, getting rid of him ASAP, and then we can worry about the other stragglers afterwards. So hopefully it makes sense. That's it on paper. I feel like this team is probably gonna be better than that Galactic team because the Galactic one, like I said, the one previously, we're gonna have to take a couple hits here from the A Force members. Cell 17. This one I don't think is too shabby just because we're dealing with Winter Guard. They have always been a slower team. It also seems like they're throwing in Sentry and Songbird here to kind of adjust for their speed. But we should be able to handle it. Once Sentry and Songbird take that turn, Darkstar is 126 and Yelane is 124. So a bit of a slower team, but I do feel like overall we should be okay here. We're going to use our Exalted X-Men because they're not just fast. They should be able to kind of get a lot of slows going on, make the team even slower. And then, of course, as well, we got Morph applying that massive taunt on every character, so we should be able to target whoever we want. And then Angel's going to be there good for the death proof and all that other stuff. And I just threw in Jeff and Spider-Man here just to kind of see where the speed mechanics are. I'm not 100% sure if I would use them just yet here, depending on how the other nodes go. Jeff is really, really good for cleansing, hence why I wanted to slap him here, because some of these beefy characters with their taunts and their positives, maybe a good idea to throw Jeff here. But like I said, if I don't use him in the other sections, we can use him here. And then, of course, as well, our boy Spider-Man just strips all the positives down, and he's faster than literally all those characters there, right? Also, with this particular node, I do believe we can also bring in Emma Frost, so you can bring in some slower characters to kind of adjust for that speed. Because, yeah, Emma Frost, we haven't really used her anywhere right now, and could potentially be an option here as well. And then finally, we've got our Fantastic Four with Illuminati. Very, very fast team, and I think you guys already know where I'm kind of going with this here. We counter speed with our own speed, and of course as well, this is the previous Arena meta team, so we're going to counter them with the current Arena meta team, right? And of course as well, we do have all 5 members now of the Symbiote 6, but I'm hoping that I don't need all 5. Maybe I can divvy them up and maybe bring 2 of the other ones onto a different team here because they are also quite fast. So we'll see how that goes here, but I just threw in some randoms in here, and I threw Oath in here just for speed. Because we're not using her anywhere else, at least not right now. But yeah, 3-piece Symbiote. Once we take a couple hits here from weak Shuri and weak Pym, we should be able to take a few turns here. And I honestly, once Null gets that carnage on the board, it's pretty much game over. Then we can take care of Franklin and we can take care of Invisible Woman. And I figured, the ability block with Oath might be a good idea here. But again, you can also potentially use Emma Frost here as well to slow them down if you're not using those teams. So, like I said, that's Blade Tower 13 to 18. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if you guys are going to move things around. If you guys have some better team suggestions, let me know. I tried my best not to use... Obviously, you can see there that we were only trying to limit ourselves to one of the Omen members. And of course, as well, we were trying not to use Shadow Conclave, but we may have to end up resorting to those teams if those comps don't work. And yeah, let me know in the comments below, like I said, if you guys have any better suggestions. Also, keep in mind, we have not really inputted some of these characters in those teams yet because we're still deciding where the best placement is. Apocalypse may potentially be good for that second node for Super Skrull. Emma Frost will definitely be good for some of those areas where her speed's not being blocked off, like for example against the Fantastic Four. Xavier can literally go anywhere. Blue Marvel as well. I've tried not to use Blue Marvel in any of these sections just because it's not very reasonable to have him here, but we have him here nonetheless. If you do want to use them and make things easier. And of course as well, we have the other Emma X, which she didn't get the rework, unfortunately, but her ability block and her mass speed negate is also quite useful, right, against the Fantastic Four. So potentially she can be used in the last node as well. And again, like I said, lots of different options. These are also the key speed manipulators, so always a good idea to slot them in somewhere. But other than that, let me know, like I said, in the comments below if you guys have some better suggestions here. This is just me thinking outside the box right now and at the top of my head here. And once Friday is live and the event goes live, things will obviously change like they always do. But other than that, guys, I always appreciate you guys tuning in. Always appreciate you guys chiming in as well here and taking the time to input that. Other than that, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.